We have no rights whatsoever. Any company coming to New York would be crazy because it's a setup. There's a rigged trial. We have a hostile group of people. We have a very hostile judge. I hate to say it. We have a very, very hostile judge. And I think everybody knows that, and we see that. But the good thing is we have all of the evidence on our side. They have nothing. And it's a case that should have never been brought. I just read many, many articles saying this case is a disgrace to our nation.
I mean, who behaves like that? It's despicable. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Donald Trump made a brief appearance in court in the New York Attorney General's civil fraud case before he left, and after he left, he was sanctioned and found to be in violation of the gag order imposed by the Judge Arthur Engoron in the New York Attorney General's civil fraud case. Back in October 3rd, the gag order was imposed when Donald Trump posted threatening messages about Judge Engoron's law clerk. Donald Trump kept those threatening messages posted on his campaign website, and MeidasTouch.com broke the story. And again, we appreciate all of your support at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, supporting our independent journalism here. But the story that we broke was then reported elsewhere, and eventually a ruling was made in court that Donald Trump was in violation of the gag order. Trump's lawyers tried to act like, oh, it was just a mistake, but Judge Engoron was not having it. He fined Donald Trump, and any future violations, Judge Engoron said, will be met by imprisonment. And Donald Trump will be imprisoned. But setting aside the Donald Trump theatrics and the absurdity of Donald Trump being there was some really important testimony that went down. And specifically, what New York Attorney General Letitia James' team was doing was very surgically showing that Donald Trump and his co-defendants, his adult kids, and by the way, that's how they were referred to within the Trump organization, the kids, that they were engaged in fraud at the time the allegations are being pled in this complaint, but also that they were not being truthful and forthcoming in their depositions, i.e. they committed perjury in their depositions. And so one witness after another, the New York Attorney General Letitia James's team was showing, okay, Alan Weisselberg works at the Trump organization, claimed he had no knowledge of communications with Forbes. Your Honor, we've got new emails from Forbes magazine right now, and the folks at Forbes say that here are the communications with Alan Weisselberg, which he claimed under penalty of perjury under oath didn't exist. So now we need an independent monitor to look through Alan Weisselberg's emails, because clearly he hasn't turned over the records he was supposed to turn over, because here are all his communications with Forbes that he claims not to recall, or that he said that he wasn't involved in and doesn't exist. So great job, Alan Weisselberg. You played yourself. And then before that, you had Jeff McConney, the former controller of the Trump organization, who said that Weisselberg is a convicted felon who pled guilty to engaging in tax fraud, told him to commit fraud. Great work, Jeff McConney. You played yourself as well. Then we had some of the outside tax appraisers testify. We had someone named Doug Larson testify this week, works at Cushman and Wakefield. Doug Larson was shown documents about his purported communications with McConney, who works at the Trump organization, and being told that he was responsible for valuations, Larson was, and having appraisals regarding 40 Wall Street for massive amounts of money. And Doug Larson was like, I wasn't involved in that at all. So not sure why they're trying to blame me for that. And then Donald Trump's lawyers tried to cross-examine Larson and say, isn't an appraisal more of an art than a science? And Doug Larson, the guy who did the appraisal, was like, not really. I mean, there's some room, but not like massive fraud that was taking place. And then that brought us to someone else at Cushman and Wakefield. And again, when Donald Trump isn't there, this perhaps doesn't get enough attention, but it absolutely should, because this is very important. David McArdle worked at Cushman and Wakefield. Here was a critical moment where McArdle was shown deposition testimony of Eric Trump. McArdle, while he worked at Cushman and Wakefield, his point of point of contact at the Trump organization was Eric Trump. And Eric Trump was involved in the appraisals. Eric Trump is supposed to be the person who leads the Trump organization. But here's how it went down. Hat tip to Adam Klasfeld over at the, Adam Klasfeld is over at the courthouse recording what's taken place. This is what happened. So the New York Attorney General rolled the tape on Eric Trump's deposition, distancing himself from the appraisals of the properties. And then Eric Trump says, I pour concrete, I operate properties, I don't focus on appraisals between a law firm and Cushman. This is just not what I do in my day-to-day responsibilities. And I hardly recognize the names here. So Eric Trump, in his deposition under penalty of perjury, tried to act like, I don't know any of this. I'm not involved in the appraisals. That's not my thing. But then McArdle, who did the appraisals, was asked if that testimony by Eric Trump is consistent with what McArdle recalled of Eric Trump's role. McArdle answered no. In other words, Eric Trump in his deposition was lying. And I don't have that portion of Eric Trump's deposition, but I do have this portion of Eric Trump's deposition. Play this clip.
I don't remember a video conference in 2021 talking about the statement of financial condition. Did I mean, maybe you could show me something, but again, I don't think I ever signed a statement of financial condition. I don't, I've done a lot to try and jog my memory, and I simply can't because I don't think I've ever had any involvement in the statement of financial condition, to the best of my knowledge.
So that's Eric Trump, who's supposed to be running the Trump organization, right? Saying, yeah, I don't know. I didn't do the statement of financial conditions. You're supposed to be running it.
Did you know that your temperature at night can have one of the greatest impacts on your sleep quality? If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend that you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics and makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at that perfect temperature all night long. Now, using silver-infused fabrics originally inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at that perfect temperature all night, so you get better sleep every night. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than the bed sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Meidas at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Meidas to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this.
And by the way, that's Eric Trump. This is Don Jr. Play the clip.
Do you have any familiarity with an acronym GAP, G-A-A-P?
Generally accepted accounting principles, yes.
Okay. How did you become familiar with that acronym?
Probably in Accounting 101 at Wharton.
Okay. What do they teach you about generally accepted accounting principles in Wharton?
Well, I'm not an accountant, but that they are generally accepted.
Anything else?
That's pretty much what I remember from Accounting 101. So.
Have you told me everything you know about GAP?
Basically. I'm sure I could come up with some creative stuff to kill time, but I'd be doing neither of us a favor in terms of educating ourselves.
I think Don Jr. thought the lawyer was flirting with him or something because he's so utterly delusional. It's like, yeah, I don't know anything about GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, even though I took a class at Wharton. I don't know a basic principle of Accounting 101. I don't know anything about that. That's what Don Jr. said. And by the way, this is what Donald Trump said. He said that Alan Weisselberg is the one who knew about GAAP, convicted felon, former CFO Alan Weisselberg. Play this clip.
To meet your obligation here, of presenting the information in accordance with GAAP. Was Alan Weisselberg responsible for that?
Object to the form.
I would say yes.
And here's Alan Weisselberg saying that he doesn't know GAAP and that he's not a CPA and he doesn't know anything about GAAP. Play this clip.
If I said the phrase GAAP, GAAP, are you familiar with that acronym?
I've heard of that, yes.
Okay. Tell me everything you know about GAAP. What is GAAP?
Generally accepted accounting principles. I don't know what's in GAAP. I never took the CPA exam.
Okay.
And never studied for it. So I don't know all the various components of what GAAP is.
Are there any components you know about what GAAP is?
Not really.
Okay.
No.
So, folks, no wonder that these individuals are trying to, I guess Donald Trump's trying to bait the judge, trying to cause or force, I don't know, a mistrial, delay it, derail it, because the facts clearly aren't on their side. The evidence isn't on their side. Oh, and by the way, this is what Ivanka Trump filed this week. She is submitting a motion to try to quash her testimony. She doesn't want to go anywhere near this. And she's arguing that because she's a Florida resident, it says here, that she shouldn't have to testify in New York. And she says that her involvement and relationship with New York LLCs should not require her to testify at trial because she says she's a Florida resident right now. I mean, all of them are just such cowards, each and every one of them. So then you got Donald Trump going back to the day. He was there for a day and a half. Here's Donald Trump compares him being unable to go to a golf tournament to the terrorist attack on Israel. Play this clip.
So we will be here tomorrow. As you know, they have the big golf tournament at Doral, which I own, and I was going to go to it, but I find this very interesting. And so I may or may not be here, I'm not sure. I probably would like to go to Doral and watch the tournament. It's a tournament, it's the big final tournament of the year. And it would have been nice to have seen it. It'll be on television, we'll see what happens. But this is a disgrace, should have never, ever been allowed to happen. I'll tell you, another thing that would have never happened is the attack on Israel.
This was funny. This is Aaron Rupert posted this. Alert! If you see this man walking around Manhattan steer clear, he will rant at you for hours at a time about his properties being worth billions of dollars. Oh, and here was Donald Trump saying that they want to keep me here instead of campaigning in Iowa. They want me to be here. Well, 3 minutes later, the reporter asked, so will you be back tomorrow? And he's like, nah, I'm just going to be watching the golf tournament. Here, play this clip.
But this is what we go through because they want to keep me here instead of Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and lots of other great places. They want me to be here.
And will you be back tomorrow by any chance?
Probably not. We're having a very big tournament, professional golf tournament at Doral, so probably not. Thank you.
So, folks, that's where we are at right now. That week, critical evidence about the finances, about the statement of financial conditions, notation showing brand premiums referred to as presidential premiums being added, grossly exaggerated things like square footage on the statement of financials. But we are moving closer to some, I think, real critical evidence as well. In addition to this, Michael Cohen's going to be testifying next week. I think it's next Tuesday will be his testimony. And then we're going to start having the Trump kids, adult kids, testifying as well. And then we'll get some testimony from Donald Trump soon. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great day.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.